The rain poured mercilessly that evening, hammering down on the cracked streets like a cruel reminder of how cold the world could be. The streetlights flickered weakly, casting ghostly shadows on the puddles. That's when they saw him. A small boy, maybe 10 years old, standing barefoot under a broken lamppost, his tiny hands gripping the handlebars of an old, rusted bicycle. His clothes were soaked through, clinging to his shivering body. His lips trembled as he spoke, his voice breaking through the sound of the rain. "Buy my bike, sir. Mommy hasn't eaten in 2 days. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of helping even one soul in need, please take a second to like, comment, share, and subscribe to KindHeartsHub, where stories of compassion remind us that the smallest act of love can change someone's entire world." The boy's words hung in the air, heavy and piercing. A group of bikers, 6 of them, had stopped at a roadside tea stall to escape the rain. They were a rough-looking bunch, leather jackets, roaring engines, tattoos, and the kind of presence that made people cross the street. But the leader, Arjun, couldn't tear his eyes away from that boy. He had seen poverty before, yes, but there was something different in the way this child stood. Not begging, but offering, trying to trade the only thing he had left in the world. Arjun stepped forward, water sloshing around his boots, and looked at the boy's bike. It was an old, dented piece of metal, the chain rusty, one pedal missing, the seat torn apart. Yet the boy held it proudly, as if it were something valuable. "What's your name, kid?" Arjun asked softly. The boy hesitated before answering, "Ravi." His eyes flickered with both fear and hope. "Please, sir, it's a good bike. I can't sell it to the junk shop because they said it's too old. But maybe you can buy it for your little brother?" Arjun's throat tightened. He crouched down, his voice low. "Where's your mom?" The boy pointed to a narrow alley behind the tea stall. "She's sick. She hasn't eaten. I told her I'd sell my bike and bring food." The bikers exchanged uneasy glances. They were used to long rides, rough roads, and chaos, but not this. Not a starving child selling the only thing he owned to feed his mother. Arjun followed the boy, his boots echoing on the wet ground, into the dim alley. The smell of damp clothes and decay hit him immediately. Inside a tiny makeshift shelter of cardboard and old tarpaulin lay a frail woman, her face pale and sunken. She was barely conscious, her breathing shallow. An empty bowl sat beside her, and a torn photograph of what must have been their family rested against the wall, a man's face scratched out. Arjun knelt beside her. "Ma'am," he said softly, "we're here to help." Her eyes fluttered open weakly and she whispered, "Ravi, told you not to sell your bike, it's all you have left." But Ravi shook his head, his eyes welling up. "Mommy, please, I just want you to eat." Something broke inside Arjun then, something that had been buried for years. His own mother's face flashed before him, the days when he had gone hungry as a child after his father walked out. He remembered swearing to himself that he'd never be helpless again. Yet here he was looking at the same pain through the eyes of a boy who could have been him, years ago. Without a word, Arjun turned to his crew. "Get food," he ordered, "now." One of them ran to the stall buying everything they could, rice, lentils, tea, bread, even some fruits. Arjun helped the woman sit up and fed her spoonful by spoonful, while Ravi sat quietly, tears mixing with the rain. The bikers removed their jackets and laid them over her to keep her warm. It was a small act, but it carried warmth that money couldn't buy. After a while, when the woman had eaten, she began to speak. Her voice was faint but filled with sorrow. "My husband, he was a driver. 2 months ago he died in an accident. The company refused to pay compensation because the vehicle wasn't insured properly. I tried working, but I fell sick. The landlord took our belongings when I couldn't pay the rent. We've been living here since..." She coughed, clutching her chest. "Ravi, he keeps saying he'll take care of me. He sells small things, but we have nothing left." The bikers stood there, silent, the weight of her words sinking deep. Arjun's fists clenched as he looked around at the broken walls, the hopelessness of it all. "Who took your things?" he asked. "The landlord?" She nodded weakly. "Yes. He said we had no right to complain." Arjun stood up. "What's his name?" That night the sound of engines roared through the rain again, not out of anger but of purpose. The bikers rode to the man's neighborhood, their headlights slicing through the darkness. They weren't there to fight, but to stand up. They found the landlord sitting smugly under a veranda, drinking tea. Arjun walked up, calm but cold. "You took everything from a widow and her child," he said. The man laughed. "Who are you to question me?" Arjun didn't answer. He just stepped closer and dropped a thick envelope on the table. "That's the rent you said she owed, and 6 months ahead. You'll return her things by morning. If you don't," he leaned in, voice like thunder, "we'll make sure every person in this city knows exactly what kind of man you are." The landlord's smirk vanished. He nodded quickly, fear replacing arrogance. The bikers left as silently as they came, rain washing away the dirt of the night but not the memory of what they'd done. When Arjun and his team returned to the alley, Ravi was still awake, guarding his mother's side. Arjun knelt beside him and placed a brand new food packet and a folded note on the floor. "For your mother," he said softly. The note contained a small amount of money, enough to cover a few months' rent and medicine. But Arjun wasn't done yet. He also handed Ravi a smaller envelope. "And this," he said, "is for you." Ravi opened it hesitantly. Inside was a photograph of the bikers, their contact number written below it, and a small card that read, "For every road you travel, remember, you're not alone anymore." The next day, true to Arjun's word, the landlord returned the woman's belongings. The bikers helped move her into a small rented room near the main road, where she could start fresh. Arjun arranged for a local charity to provide food until she recovered, and one of the bikers found her a sewing job nearby. As for Ravi, he started attending a local school that Arjun's club helped fund for underprivileged kids. Weeks passed. The rain gave way to sunlight, and the city began to glow again. One Sunday afternoon, the roar of engines echoed once more, but this time, it was a happy sound. Ravi stood outside their little house, wearing a new school uniform, smiling proudly as Arjun pulled up on his bike. The boy ran to him, clutching a small envelope. "Sir," he said, eyes gleaming, "I've been saving from the little jobs I do after school. I want to pay you back." Arjun laughed softly, tears pricking his eyes. "Keep it, kid. One day you'll help someone else. That's how you pay me back." He handed Ravi a gleaming helmet. "And keep your bike," he added. "We fixed it up for you." Behind him, the other bikers wheeled in the same old bike, but now it shone with new paint, straight handlebars, and polished metal. Ravi gasped, covering his mouth. His mother stood in the doorway, her eyes brimming with tears. As Arjun rode away that day, the reflection of the little boy and his mother in his rearview mirror stayed with him. He knew he couldn't save everyone, but maybe, just maybe, he could remind the world that compassion still existed. So if this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe to KindHeartsHub. Because every act of kindness, no matter how small, has the power to change a life. Someone out there is fighting a silent battle you know nothing about. Your compassion might be the reason they don't give up. Special request, comment below. I believe in kindness. If you think the world needs more people like Arjun and his biker brothers. Together, let's spread humanity, one story at a time.